Hey, oh wait, I'm not hearing myself. There we go. Hey, anybody who's out there joining us on the live stream, this is Sam. No Yvonne today. I'll explain in a second. I went ahead and hit the go live button while I'm preparing and getting things ready. So give me a couple minutes and we'll get going for real. Since it ends up as a solo show, I'm probably going to do the thing where I split this over several recording sessions. So right now I'm just copying and pasting some of like the potential topics from the Curmudgeon's Corner Slack into a list that I can look at, and then I'll figure out what I actually want to talk about today. So you're getting some behind the scenes exciting stuff right now. Not that there's anyone here yet, but that's the deal. That is what is going on with me. I also am now officially on vacation from work until after the election. So, blah, 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 and I am glad. There's all kinds of stuff I want to do besides the election stuff. I'll probably talk about that once we start to show proper as well. But like I said, I'm just preparing my list right now. I could have not hit start until after I was done with this kind of stuff, but I'm experimenting. I'm doing whatever. Normally like it would automatically start once I had Yvonne here, but I had to manually start it since I know he's not coming. So like what I'm pasting right now, from the Curmudgeon's Corner Slack, there's a channel that is there potential topics that we might want to talk about. And so I'm pasting that into like another little note list, I think. Well, it is another little note thing. I keep like my in progress while I'm recording notes for the show in an app called Simple Note that is available, both on Mac and on iOS, and it syncs and all that kind of stuff. So, yeah, and yes, I know Apple Notes could do that too, but I like Simple Note. It's plain text. It's blah, blah, blah. Anyway, so I have this little thing of, for episode 903, there are a couple things left over. Zuck's new glasses, Diddy, nothing left over from episode 904. For episode 905, leftover thing on misinformation about the hurricanes. And then things that have been entered in our possible list for this time. Trump's closing argument is racism. Harris concentrating too much on the middle at the expense of the base. The SpaceX booster catch. Third-party candidates like Stein and what's going on with them. Trump, like Harris, bypassing traditional media. Underestimating female anger, which is based on a comment Yvonne made on the Slack. The potential for post-election violence. The WordPress kerfluffle, or kerfuffle. It's kerfuffle. There's no L in it, is there? Or, there's an L at the end, but not in the middle. It's not fluffle, is it? Anyway, the Europa Clipper. Whether or not MAGA is preparing for another coup attempt. Trump's deterioration. If Trump wins, do we really get Vance? And then I think it was Bob added, if we get Vance, do we really get Thiel? The early vote stuff. Stormy Daniels popping up again. Trump being exhausted. And I made a note that it's just LAOS1. And that's something I want to mention to Yvonne. So I'm not going to mention that on this show because I'll wait for Yvonne on that. Anyway, am I ready? Oh, like I always pick which breaks I'm going to take too. So let's see, where did I have that? Left over from last time, the 2001 break number 4, the first one recorded on 2021-05-02 should be the first break. And then I have to randomize for the other two. So let's see, 1 through 10, random number 8. And 8 is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Oh, that's that new one. So 2024-08-25. 2024-08-25. And then I always make sure I've picked 3 breaks. The third one would be a wiki of the day. Now that takes me like a few minutes to prepare, but since I know I'm going to be like pausing after the first break, I'll just stop. Anyway, we've been going 6 minutes already and I haven't actually started the show. I've just been babbling to the non-existent live viewers and anybody who watches on YouTube later. We have been getting a few YouTube views lately. Let's see real quick, like last episode. How many views did we have for the last episode? What was last episode? 10, 11? 4 views. 4 views on YouTube. Average duration 7 minutes. So not watching the whole show or anything, but it's something. Okay. Let's get this sucker actually going. And yeah, this first segment will, I was going to say probably be short, but it never ends up being. But like, yeah, the non-newsy stuff, I don't have a lot of. Here, let's play the intro. Here we go. I don't know how much of this rambly part I'll include in the audio podcast. I'll decide that later. Anyway, here goes. Oh, I forgot to hit this button. Welcome to Curmudgeon's Corner for Saturday, October 19th, 2024. It is just before 23 UTC as I'm starting to record this. I'm Sam Minter. Yvonne Bowe is not here. So we had, lately we've been doing Friday night US time or Saturday during the day. So like Saturday UTC almost always recently. Because I now have something on Thursday evenings US time I've got to do. And so Yvonne asked me if we could do Saturday this time because he had something going on Friday. And so when we do it Saturday, it's daytime US time. And we were going to do it at 16 UTC. But just a couple hours before that, Yvonne texts me and lets me know he's not feeling well. And I don't know if he's going to want to give any more details about what's up with that next week or not. I don't know. Probably not. Long past by then. But the bottom line is he wasn't feeling up to or able to do anything. So he's like, I'm sorry, last minute cancel. I'm out. And it was close enough to the time we were scheduled to record and that I didn't attempt to get any, substitute hosts in, on 2 hours notice or whatever. But also, to be honest, I'd been up all night with some other stuff going on. I was tired. I was going to be staying up. I was getting, I'm like, oh, I'm not doing the podcast. That means I can sleep a couple hours. So, I went back to bed and it's hours later now. I did, and agenda-wise, this first segment is the rambly, personal / non-current eventsy, non-serious news. Sometimes we can do current events that's not serious in this segment. That kind of segment, and then we will have 2 segments of sort of actual newsy stuff. And I guess this time they're going to both be picked by me. You can, of course, guess that. Hey, look, we've got so little time left before the election at this point. As I am recording this, it is down to 17 days. 17 days until polls start to close. And so, of course, I'm going to be talking about the election. If it's not like I don't know. Like, I'm struggling to come up with anything non-election even to talk about in this initial segment. Uh, the whole damn rest of the show is probably going to be election stuff in one way, shape, or another. You know, 17 days left. What the hell do you expect, people? Like, you know what? I'm gonna spend like the whole time talking about the Europa Clipper or something. I mean, it's on our list, or the WordPress thing. Honestly, I don't have enough to say about those things. The WordPress thing seems like it's like an idiotic turf war thing, and people need to get a hold of themselves and just get over it and be civil and work things out and blah blah blah. And it seems like the automatic guy is the guy who's like nutso on this one, not the other people. But whatever. And Europa Clipper, cool. They launched it. It won't actually get there for 6 years. And by the way, 6 years is 2030. 2030. For those of us who remember when the year 2000 was still like way in the future, like 2030 coming up on us very rapidly. It's just wrong. It's just wrong. Anyway, so what do I want to talk about on this initial slice of show? I actually contemplated just being like, hey, Yvonne's not here. I'll be back after this break and talk about politics. But what I will mention, and it's relating to the politics vaguely, but like because it's election graphs related. Like I mentioned on a show that I am taking basically the rest of the time between now and the election off, and a little bit of time after the election. Basically, I'm not going to be back at the day job until November 11th. Okay, so that I'm taking 3 weeks off. The first 2 and a little bit are pre-election, and then there's like a few days after the election as well. And the reason for this is because in previous years, the volume of polls by this point was already absolutely overwhelming. And I've mentioned before, I hand enter these polls. I manually, like, the way election graphs is set up, like, yes, I know there, like 538 provides an API. I could, and every 4 years I consider it, because there have been, whether it was 538 or other people before that, there have been ways to automatically ingest polling data. But I always say to myself, first of all, I may make different decisions. Like, I'm including some things that 538 doesn't. Now, most of the things that I include that 538 doesn't are included by DDHQ/The Hills database, and they also have an automated way to get their stuff, so I could combine them or something. But like, I make different decisions about what to include. Some of the things I include aren't included by either of them, because I'm like, like when people do all kinds of variants of like, oh, okay, here, not just here's the registered voter, here's the likely voter, but here's the number before we press people for, we take on this first, we just ask people, and then we push the undecided people to make a decision. And so that's what's called the with leans. It adds in the people who say they're not really decided, but they're kind of leaning towards one candidate or the other. And I include some of those different ways of looking at it. I just include all the variants I can find. And so not all of that information is available. And I also feel like there's a value in having hands-on and looking at each and every data point I put in and what's its effect. I also, the way election graphs is structured right now, like, it really is set to like process one new data point at a time. So like, I add a data point and then I trigger updating of the site. And the mechanisms I have to update right now sort of assume there's only one new data point. So like if I added 5 data points and then told it go, it would get confused. Like mainly in terms of like automatic posts on Mastodon and stuff like that. I think the website for the most part would eventually figure it out, but it wouldn't be ideal. It's not set up to do that. It's not set up to sort of detect and handle a bunch of stuff added at once. It really expects one at a time. And like, I know that's bad design and I could fix that at some point. But it hasn't been a priority for me. And I kind of, enjoy doing it data point by data point. But the point of all this is I'm doing it manually. And I'm not only typing in the line of data manually, but after I type in the data and I trigger the processing, it takes a couple minutes for it to do everything it's going to do with the new data point. It can be, and then if it's something that triggers a tipping point change or a state crosses from one of my categories to another, it takes even longer because it waits on, like, some things are processed like immediately and other things are on like a time thing where it only gets looked at every 5 minutes or whatever. So if it's one of those, I have to like wait for it and blah blah blah. Anyway, the point is it takes me like on average maybe 3 or 4 minutes per data point. Like some of them are less and some of them are more. And so like when there are lots and lots of polls, it ends up taking me lots and lots of time. And in previous cycles, like 4 years ago, by the time you got to 2 weeks out, I mean, I was, taking 6+ hours a day. Like it was getting close to being a full-time job, just putting all the stuff in. There were a couple of outlets that were doing 50 state tracking polls where every day they were putting out new numbers for every state. And there were, and all the swing states were getting like a whole bunch every day practically, etc. And so for the last couple of cycles, I've taken time off before election day. I think last time I also, like 4 years ago, I think I also took 3 weeks. The time before that, I think I only took 2 weeks. But it feels slower this time. Like there are a bunch of polls right now. Like as I am recording right now, there are a bunch of polls that came out Friday afternoon/evening, and it's Saturday afternoon right now, and I haven't put them in yet because I was otherwise occupied, and I'll do it after I finish this segment probably. Um, and it's probably going to be I don't know, an hour or two of stuff to catch up, but an hour or two is not 6 hours. It does seem slower than it was. And maybe it's just like I'm not remembering properly, and it was like this. But I'm hoping that I actually not only get to do all the election graph stuff, but I have time to do some other stuff. Like I want to catch up around the house. I want to, um, I want to do some cleaning. I want to do some laundry. I want to do a little bit on some projects other than election graphs. I want to spend some time watching TV with Alex. Um, all this kind of stuff, and a few other things. Um, but I don't know. Maybe we got 2 weeks left. Maybe it'll like radically ramp up just for the last 2 weeks, and I shouldn't be saying, "Oh, it looks better than the other cycles," because I'm going to end up absolutely hammered for the next 2 weeks. We'll see. Hammered, not in the sense of like drinking and being drunk, but hammered in the sense of just having lots of stuff to do. Anyway. But I'm hoping to do other stuff. And frankly, like, look, it's different than a real vacation. I haven't taken like a real vacation where like myself and the family or myself and my wife or whatever, like go somewhere and just freaking relax by a pool or something. Like, I cannot remember us doing that ever, honestly. And we really fucking should at some point. Like all of my vacations are like, I'm going to take off a week to do something. The last time I took a week off was to add the with time left probabilistic models to election graph. And now I'm taking time off to do election graph stuff. And then 1 week after the election, ostensibly to sort of recover and also to pick up my wife's campaign yard signs. But like the yard signs aren't that much this because she was unopposed this year. So like I only put out like between 20 and 30 signs. Whereas 2 years ago when she had an opponent, it was between 200 and 300 signs, I think. Maybe it was about 200 signs. Might be slightly under 200. I don't know. In that ballpark. I could look it up, but it feels like it was 200 to 300 signs. And, you know, a week wasn't even time to pick up all the signs and to check all the locations. I shouldn't say pick them all up because the reality is a significant fraction of them will be gone. People will have stolen them, thrown them into the woods where you can't get to them. Although we tried really hard. If we could see it in the woods, we would get it. Like I even bought like one of these like long 25-foot apple picker things so that I could reach one that somebody had thrown into like a thicket and try to pull it back out. And I successfully got it, but I had to like buy equipment to get that thing out. But anyway, so what I'm hoping like is I actually don't end up completely slammed by election graphs and signs and all this kind of stuff, and actually can relax a little bit too, you know? And yeah, I mentioned like filling some of that time with housework. And okay, yeah, there's all kinds of housework and chores and things that just need to get done. And it's nice to have time to do that too. And to some degree, that's like relaxing to me too, depending on what the task is. Some of them I like dread, but others I'm like, yeah, I actually find doing laundry like a sort of relaxing Zen thing. You know, I have a specific method. Of course, you know, I have all my autistic tendencies. I have like a 30-step algorithm that I use that probably no one else does it anywhere near the way I do. And there are certain things that are important to me about the process that no one else would care about. And there are certain things that other people would care about that I don't even bother with at all. But the point is, you know, I can spend an hour or whatever, like sorting laundry, putting away laundry, moving laundry from place to place and putting it in a machine and blah, 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 and taking it upstairs, downstairs, whatever. And you know, while I'm doing that, I'm listening to something cool on the headphones and I'm, you know, just relaxing a little bit. But, you know, it'll be nice if these 3 weeks actually end up with a decent amount of time for me to just be sitting on the couch watching TV with Alex or other stuff. You know, it's, I could deal with that. You know, relaxing is fun. And, you know, I one of these days I should really do another. You know, the thing I should do is another one of those random vacations. Like I've the next on the list one has been to go to the Yucatan in Mexico for like 2 decades. It's time to actually freaking do that thing. Like maybe next year we can organize that. I don't know. Yeah, at one point Yvonne was like, "I'll go with you." So that would be fun. Curmudgeon's Corner live from the Yucatan. You know, we could do that. Anybody else want to join me there? Like a random trip? Southern Yucatan, like right near the border of Belize is where we're talking. Not like Cancun or the major tourist spots. Although I guess it's the Mayan Riviera or whatever. Like so there is tourism nearby. Anyway, like so I'm on vacation on sort of a personal work project sort of vacation, which, you know, I understand I need to do the other type someday, but this is as close as I get. And I get to do things that are sort of my priorities. that I figure out what I want to do and how I want to spend my time, and it's not governed by like work needs this or work needs that. And even that alone is refreshing. You know, even if it's not like I'm not going somewhere on a trip and doing typical tourist stuff, but it's like actually having time that's mine. And that's important. Like, I mean, yes, I have time that's mine every weekend and in the evenings, but it's not the same. Like, honestly, I am just like, by the time I get to the end of the weekend, I'm just feeling like I've started to recover and I'm ready to like, because of course I fill the weekends with stuff like this podcast and with election graph stuff anyway, and with other things like that. So, I sort of complete all of that stuff, usually sometime Sunday, and then it's already time to start thinking about Monday. You know, so anyway, I'm looking forward to the next 3 weeks. Well, I'm nervous about the election, and we'll talk about that soon enough. But just from a personal point of view, like not worrying about going into work, not worrying about what's going on there, and like all of the chaos that's associated with any workplace and with my workplace in specific at the moment, um, is nice. Do I have any more but first stuff to do? Have I rambled long enough about how I'm enjoying like the fact that I'm now on vacation? This is like I'm like less than 24 hours in to not having to deal with work stuff, but and so I'm not like fully into it yet. I haven't actually started any of the things I intended to do during these 3 weeks yet. I haven't even entered in a single data point for election graphs yet. I'll do that after. I'm just doing this normal weekend thing of recording the podcast. And I haven't done any household chores yet, but I will. I will do all these things. So I'm just at the beginning. I'm still excited about it. We'll see how I feel in another week or whatever. Only other but first. Let's see. Let's click off the things that are not like news, politics related. SpaceX catched. SpaceX caught their booster thing. Cool. It's still too bad Elon has his name associated with that, but SpaceX does do some cool stuff, and it's not because of Elon. It's because of all of the other good engineers who work at that company, and good management, etc. Like, from everything I can tell, that place is doing well in part because Elon isn't fucking with it on an everyday basis. I still worry about like the amount of dependency our space program is getting on SpaceX right now, because Boeing's doing so badly right now, and the government itself is doing less on its own and contracting out almost everything. I mean, even when they did like Saturn V and the space shuttle and stuff, obviously contractors built the actual machines, but the government was much more in the driver's seat, whereas now they're sort of we want private contractors to do like everything. And that's a little worrying, but it's still cool. The new heavy, I mean, they've been landing their rockets for a long time now, but this is the biggest one yet that they've actually managed to catch, and it's a key element in the future plans. So awesome. Good job. The WordPress stuff I mentioned briefly, the Europa stuff I already mentioned briefly. Is that it? I think that's it. So here you go. I am going to take a thingy. Yeah, I'm gonna take a break, and and I'm probably gonna come back and record the next segment tomorrow. Since I don't have a co-host, I'm splitting this up over probably 3 different sessions, and then I'll put out the actual audio version. If you are on YouTube, you can see the parts as they get done, if not live. So nobody's been watching live this time around, but that's okay. That's okay. I feel okay by that. I'm not feeling neglected. Yeah. Okay, first break. What did I say? First break. It's this one. It's this one right here, and we'll be back after this. And look, the rest of the show, one way or another, is going to be related to the presidential election. Like, I mean, we maybe talk about tangentially related politics as well, but it's basically all politics and basically all election, because, like I said, the days are ticking down. There's not much left. But first, this break.
Do. This podcast is sponsored by AlexEmzilla.com. Alex Emzilla is great. It's on YouTube, and it has lots of fun videos.
Alex Emzilla is awesome and great.
I love his videos, and they are obviously better than Curmudgeon's Corner.
Well, they're funnier. They're more interesting.
And frankly, he seems at least a little smarter than either of the hosts of Curmudgeon's Corner.
Honestly, it's ridiculous how endlessly talented and phenomenal Alex Emzilla is.
That's how great his YouTube channel is.
AlexEmzilla.com.
Yes. Do.
Okay, that's it for now. I'll be back to record another segment. I don't know, when I feel like it. Tonight, tomorrow, sometime soon. We'll finish up and get the whole podcast out this weekend, no matter what, but we'll space it out. Okay, bye. Where are you still alive?